Until a few months ago, these neighborhoods were inaccessible. Not even the police dared to enter. These alleys became labyrinths of life and death. The population has to be careful even. What kind of clothes to wear so as not to be mistaken for gang members. Wearing a lot of tattoos means that you could be mistaken for a gang member. Today we will visit some of the most dangerous old neighborhoods in all of El Salvador. We are in San Salvador, and in this video we are going to visit some neighborhoods that used to be extremely dangerous, practically inaccessible to outsiders, and that today have undergone an extensive gang cleansing process. You see, for many years El Salvador was arguably the most dangerous country in Central America, and without exaggeration, probably in the entire American continent. And now the territory boasts a completely different reputation, with many of the criminals emerging as leaders of the most dangerous gangs, the most notorious being the 18th and Mara Salvatrucha. Today it is alleged they are allegedly incarcerated. In fact, in the last video we visited one of the big anti-terrorism prisons where we were able to see some of these criminals face to face, eye to eye. In this report I plan to walk the streets, talk to the locals to get a little more of a picture. So come on. The neighborhoods of San Salvador are waiting for us. Let's get to it. We start in the neighborhood of Mexicanos with Jay, which is actually one of the largest in all of San Salvador, with a population of over 140 people. Right on this street where I am standing, the much talked about Mexicanos minibus massacre happened, in which 17 people died charred to death inside a minibus. This is considered one of the bloodiest events against civilians in the whole territory. It is said that it was due to a conflict between both gangs, although others affirm that it was also to terrorize the population and give a message to the authorities, in which a minibus was circulating right here with civilian passengers, and the vehicle caught fire. The exits were blocked, and it is said that those who managed to get out through a window to escape for their lives were shot. There was no way to save themselves. We met Gloria here. How are you, Gloria?
Great, good, thank you. Well, there you go, putting your heart into it.
As it should be, as it should be. Have you been living here in Mexicanos for a long time?
Yes, I have been living here in the Mexicanos area for approximately 26 years. You know, it was one of the municipalities a lot. Well, it was one of the most dangerous municipalities. It was one of the most dangerous municipalities in El Salvador. You used to say that you went through Mexicanos and it was like nobody could come here, that you were assaulted or suddenly they would take you out. I mean, it was a very dangerous thing. I had to get off the bus halfway down the block when suddenly we heard shouts that everyone had to get down on the ground, so it was our turn with my sister. I was walking that day. We had to throw ourselves to the ground because it was something that if you saw it, it would kill you. So that was really hard, to be honest. It was a very shocking event in my life, something very tragic, an indescribable smell. I mean, I can't even describe the smell that day and the amount of smoke in the place. Today I can tell you that my friends, my family, well, we move in a much calmer way on that side. In fact, you can see how many sales there are around. They can come and visit you without any problem. It has had a radical change about super cool.
In the municipal cemetery of Mexicanos, there are buried some of the victims of the burned minibus, as well as many bodies of gang members of the Mara Salvatrucha and 18. However, something that has struck me a lot is that at the very entrance of the cemetery there is a big sign that says, "No weapons allowed." Of course, in this neighborhood it is a daily occurrence for gang members to come to pay respect to their dead. This cemetery is huge. Now, one of the caretakers was telling us that it has more than 9,000 graves, of which an important percentage is sadly directly related to gang-related events. Within the policies of this cemetery, the caretaker told us, it is not allowed to put any symbol that is related to gang names, so that they cannot come to pay respect to them. At this point, I want to tell you about an event that happened a little over a year ago, which was covered internationally by the press. which narrates that on the Day of the Dead, the authorities of El Salvador sent gang members now in prison to destroy tombs that allude to criminal groups. This so that there would no longer be any physical space to which people could go to pay respect, and in this way reduce the tributes and aspirations that young people may have to join terrorist groups. Another of the communities that used to be extremely hot is the neighborhood of Vista Lago, a neighborhood that receives this name because of the stunning view of the lake and the pavement that it has. Today it is very common to see armed groups of the authorities circulating in the streets, some belonging to the National Police, the Air Force, the Army, among others. The Air Force, the Army, among others. Vehicles are stopped on a daily basis. They question what is being done here, where they are circulating, because I know until a few years ago, maybe a few months ago, it was not easy for someone from the outside to enter. For anyone from the outside to enter, it was practically inaccessible. He informs me that in order to gain control over the gang-dominated streets, they resorted to arranging extensive and formidable military barriers until the point where the defenses of the gangs became subservient. This state lasted at a bare minimum until the time specified in this document. 4 soldiers. It is said that these soldiers were on their way back home after their duty hours when they mistakenly took a public transportation that they should not have taken and that brought them to this neighborhood. Someone must have given a warning. Some soldiers are coming from here. The bus was intercepted by a group of gang members who took them and brought them right here, to these white walls that we can see. They were held here for several hours and eventually the order was given to kill them. In fact, the day we went to CCOP to document the jail, we saw face to face some of the people responsible for this crime.
AKA active Mara Salvatrucha Beaver trigger rank. The current sentence is 269 years.
Among other criminals we could see a few meters away from us. When we documented in jail were those responsible for the nationally known case of Alison Renderos.
He is currently serving a 36-year prison sentence for aggravated homicide and unlawful assembly, unlawful weapons.
Alison Renderos was a very young girl of 16 years old, what is presumed. She was a promising Salvadoran athlete. She was kidnapped, raped, and murdered by a group of gang members. Today they are already in jail. They have already served their sentence. But what broke my heart was to see that the sentence of 2 of them was less than 25 years. Less than 25 years for doing that to a girl who was only 16. While the criminals who killed the military officers were given more than 80 years only because they were military officers. Others who killed and raped a girl were given only 25. What a fact! Very sad, very disturbing, and hopefully the law will do something about it. We just spoke with a group of military personnel who were here, who told us that we can enter to record what the construction is like inside. A communal house is as such a place for meetings, planning, etc., in which criminal groups operate or used to operate. This is where the access is. We can see here some chairs, wood that remain, and let's go inside. It is something terrifying to think of the atrocities that surely happened here. Of course, the event of the 4 soldiers were not the only murders that occurred here. It is said that when the law came to make the expedition looking for the bodies, communal graves were found in which there is no official data. But it is estimated that more than 30 bodies of civilians and gang members or posts were buried there. Paf! The energy you feel here just thinking about this is quite shocking. It's pretty shocking. Does it merit it? It sure does. That's a pretty disturbing statistic. A lot of resentment that's been left in society. The persecution of gang members is related to clothing and tattoos. We hear on a daily basis that civilians are detained by the police, by the military for the simple fact of being tattooed. This is because they are constantly looking for jobs in bodies related to gang membership, since it has been decreed by Salvadoran law that the simple fact of belonging to a gang nowadays makes you a terrorist. I recently had the opportunity to meet a pair of talented tattoo artists who were kind enough to share some insights about their journeys and experiences.
They have stopped us and questioned us. They have even kept us for up to 3 hours just to review a document and to investigate. Personally, if I am arrested 10 times, I go home calmly, but as I repeat, sometimes it is uncomfortable, but I still applaud it. I prefer 1,000 times that a soldier stops me in the street. I know that it is a routine and it is his job, than if a gang member stops me in the street, that my life is going to disappear.
I had a lady soldier take me to a place to undress me and check my tattoos, and they were all very nice. The lady told the gentleman that she was working and there are no cameras here. He said no, and she started to check my hair and everything, but thank God it is like that now, because before we have a 14-year-old daughter. With her, we didn't go out to the market because we were afraid that the gang members would take our children away from us, but thank God we are free.
Jimmy, I see you have some tattoos. Have you ever been stopped by the police, the army, for this?
If the authorities are on a corner or patrolling the neighborhood, they only call you 11 for a routine check, which is to check you. If you are not doing anything illegal, they just check your tattoos.
What do you think about this and how do you feel about it?
No, not really, because they are putting the authority, the respect, except they keep people checking if there are still no gang members, thugs in the street, or someone alluding to gangs with their tattoos, clothing, haircuts, things like that.
Also, another very strange thing that is advised in society is not to wear certain models of shoes, because these clothes have been directly linked to gang members. So, how about it? It is very crazy to think that in the middle of 2024, one can suffer from many prejudices. Discrimination for the simple fact of being tattooed, how one dresses, but it is a price that an entire society pays today for the acts of some terrorist gangs. If I had told you just a few months ago that I was inside the Campanera, you would not have believed me, because these alleys were completely gang-run. 18. It is said, quoting the words of the locals, that not even the police dared to enter here. Today the reality is different. We see a lot of presence of the army and the police forces. And these long alleys that turn into labyrinths are no longer a game of life and death for the locals. They are telling me that this neighborhood used to be the main area of the Gang 18, which, by the way, related to what we were talking about, wearing certain clothes, certain tattoos. It got to the point where soccer players could not wear on their backs neither the number 13 nor the number 18, because it alluded to the biggest gangs in the territory. It's very difficult to access these alleys. It's very easy to get lost, extremely easy to hide. By analyzing its geography, you completely understand all the things that were going on. So there you have it, a tour through some of the most dangerous old neighborhoods in all of El Salvador. An experience that has opened my eyes a lot, and that has even moved me to see how the citizens gradually regain control of their streets, their houses, their homes. It is priceless, and we hope you continue to prosper in this way. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. See you as always in a few days with a new video.